Good morning. Good morning. I know it is still early, but let's do that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am City Councilman David Howard, at least for another 6 days. And I want to welcome you guys down to the city government building this early Tuesday morning. We have a great panel, and we have a great audience panel. So we're gonna have a great conversation. So what I want to do, just to kind of get going, is to give you, to do some housekeeping and to tell you a little bit about what this is all about. The first thing to remember is that the restrooms are actually out the door to your right. And if you go down the hall, you need help, you have people out front that can direct you. This is one of those times, you notice lately when you go to church, they used to tell you to turn your cell phones off. Now they tell you just to put it on vibrate. So I'm going to ask you to do that. And if you want to take it out and take pictures and follow on social media so other people that are not here can take advantage of it, I would appreciate that. This is not one of those times I'm going to ask you to turn it off. I just want you to make sure it doesn't ring. If you look in the middle of your table, you'll see you have the hashtag that I would love for you to use today. It's called RethinkCLT, and I'll tell you a lot more about what that is. Also, it's been moving a little slow, but this presentation or this panel discussion will actually be loaded onto the rethinkclt.com website, so you'll be able to look at it again if you need to go back or tell others about it. And what is Rethink CLT? So, as a council member, one of the things that I've been concerned about is how Charlotte stays competitive moving forward. One of the things that I know that we need are big thinkers. We need people to think about what Charlotte can be over the next 20 or 30 years. And as a leader, that's one of those conversations that I didn't hear happening. So with the help of a kitchen cabinet, a few of you guys are in the room, we actually started meeting about some of these big ideas, all around how to make Charlotte global, how to make sure Charlotte was entrepreneurial, to make sure Charlotte was actually in the spaces where entrepreneurship is going, and R&D and research and development and science, and to make sure we were doing things for the areas of Charlotte that were not benefiting from the economic upswing that the rest of the city was seeing. So we actually started meeting, and we started talking about these forward-thinking policy ideas, and thus came up with this idea of having a series of forums and salons called Rethink CLT. I have a few of those folks in the audience today. One of them is actually on the panel, so I'll just go through them real quick. The folks that helped me out with getting this going was, and I didn't mean to do that, Kelly Alexander, Lisa Crawford, Jennifer Daniels. If you're here, just kind of throw your hands up. Jennifer's in the back. D'Alva Glenn, Tori Jessup, who's actually on the panel, Sean Kinley, Tracy Montross, Betty Rash, as well as Donald Robinson and Noel Ten. And I can tell you it's been a really exciting couple of years. We actually first started meeting 2 years ago, January, this coming January. And in that time, we've actually had a forum where we actually had some great people talk to us about what they were doing with mobile technology in Barcelona and how they've turned that into a whole entrepreneurial global ecosystem that's now making them one of the most innovative communities in the world, giving Charlotte a great example of what we can do. This was a slide from that forum. We actually had a young lady chime in from Barcelona last time that explained to us exactly what they were doing. That turned into a white paper that I would love to tell you more about later. We also had somebody on the panel that challenged us to think about how Charlotte could be more global and how we could use mobile commerce to actually be on top of that conversation. In a lot of ways, since that time, we've actually had conversations with people around the world, and we're now part of a group called City Protocol that I'll tell you about later as well, where we're actually the only American city talking about what this could look like and joining other cities like Dubai and Barcelona and other cities around the world about that conversation. We also had a young man on the panel that talked to us about how if we were really smart, we would corner what was then called kind of mobile commerce. And that was around the conversation about how do you take advantage of mobile payments. We're a banking center, we like making money, so why not do something that would actually make us competitive in that space? Since that time, we had nothing to do with it. I'd like to take credit for it. But Apple Pay has taken off. You have Samsung Pay. You have all these people now telling you what you can do with your cell phones without taking a credit card or wallet out. So that's still something we should talk about. And then lastly, earlier this year, I invited a young man down named Bruce Katz that talked to us about what this community, how the metropolitan areas of the world are kind of taking over the economy. It's no longer kind of country to country. It's metropolitan area to metropolitan area. Again, if Charlotte's going to be competitive, Bruce Katz came down to talk about his book, Metropolitan Revolution, and kind of inspired us to talk about how Charlotte as a region should be forming coalitions and helping to push ideas. We also took a team to Barcelona for the Smart City Expo back last November. There were 10 of us that went. We also had an opportunity to talk about Charlotte's accomplishments in Bilbao, Spain last year. We also, again, joined City Protocol, and we've been part of something called M-Schools, which is all about teaching our kids about coding. So stay tuned to that. Believe it or not, this whole idea of doing Rethink COT is not going to go away when I leave council. We're going to keep the conversation going. We've actually already started to talk to a group about bringing a movie here that's about young ladies in coding. We no longer need to worry about our children learning just a foreign language. It's not just Spanish or Chinese. We need to make sure our young people know coding. That's the language of the future, and we're going to have conversations about that. As a matter of fact, Discovery Place and CMS have been working on rolling out a program called M-Schools, so stay tuned for that. You heard it here first. So before we jump into the conversation, and I think we're going to have to reverse the way it's going, let me do some introductions before we jump into the panel. So the first thing I'd like to always do is give honor to the people that actually serve this community in an elected capacity, because it is not an easy job. I'm going to say that one more time before I introduce them. It is not an easy job. If it was, I'd stay and do this forever. I'm joking. All right, so let me start over here. I have City Councilman Al Austin. Al, if you'll stand real quick. City Councilman John Autry. He's doing Periscope, so wave at him. Hey. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do hey like that again. All right, I have the Mayor of Cornelius, Chuck Travis. And please help me. I also, before I go to my last wonderful friend. Okay, yep, I got everybody. I have former City Council member Nancy Carter as well. And just to round it out to show you how serious the city is about this conversation, we also have our city manager in the room, Ron Carley. So with that, I've been given a signal that we actually are going to do this. Okay. Okay, while I'm trying to figure out technology, let me just get going. The panel is going to start with a friend of Charlotte and somebody that we should all be extremely proud of, and I am not going to try to read his bio. He's actually one of my best friends, and you just heard he's also on the panel. He's part of the Rethink COT Kitchen Cabinet, and that's Tori Jessup. Tori is currently the regional administrator for the Government Services Administration, which puts him down in Atlanta. He oversees 8 states?
8 states.
8 states, which keeps him on the road. And he is actually, and I won't tell you about his portfolio, I'll let him tell you about the 4 million square feet and all those wonderful things that he oversees and all the states that he has to coordinate and what GSA is. He's also the former district director for our former Congressman Mel Watt, where he was in that office for 18 years, 19 years?
19 and some change.
19 and some change, and also served as a deputy director for the DNC, the host committee that was here in Charlotte back in 2012. So with that, I think I have a PowerPoint that Alvin's going to come up and get going for Tori. Are you going to come over here, Tori, or stay over there?
I'll just stay here.
Okay.
If that's okay with everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. David, I'm glad you decided to continue to do this, because I think it was December of last year or January of last year, maybe it was February, sometime it was cold. and it snowed, and we could not make this event happen. And then juggling the schedules of the panelists here made it very difficult to do it shortly after the snow. So I'm glad that he had the stick-to-itness to keep us on his radar and keep us in his foresight so that we can have this conversation about the future of government opportunities. I am Torrey Jessup. I am a resident of Mecklenburg County. I live in Huntersville. I pay close attention to Charlotte, even as I go back and forth to Atlanta in this role that I've had now for 14 months, maybe 15 months, with 13 more to go. I was appointed by the president and was sworn in on August 6th of last year to serve as regional administrator for the General Services Administration. Well, let me back up a little bit. I want to say something about David. I know he's an outgoing council member, but he's right. About 2 years ago, we had a conversation around the kitchen table, seems like. Don't remember where we were, but it was a kitchen table. And we were talking about Rethink. And he was talking about, you know, this great big vision for Charlotte. And be honest with you, I couldn't get my head around it. Because he was talking about M-schools and mobile technology and all of these things. And I was like, David, well, what does this mean? You know, break this down for me. But he did. He broke it down for me. And I had to do a lot of reading. He sent me a lot of material to read about his trip to Barcelona, which is, they have basically labeled themselves as the mobile capital of the world. That's just about having the will to do something. And I think that here in Charlotte, you know, if you follow the leadership of people like David, you know, you embrace the will to do something and make it happen in your community to improve the lives, not just of those companies that are there, but the people who are there as well. So I appreciate you being the visionary leader that you are. And we'll miss you on council, but we hope that you will remain in leadership in this community, making sure that this vision that you have stays alive. And for those of you who are in elected capacity or in some influential capacity, I hope that you'll support such visionary leaders as we move forward in the growth of this city. So I just wanted to say that. I do have a long presentation, so I hope that you'll bear with me. And the reason why it's long is typically when I go and do presentations, well, everybody knows who the Small Business Administration is, right? But many people don't know what the General Services Administration is. How many people, do you know what the General Services Administration is? Show of hands. Determines how long I'll talk. Okay. So let me explain, and I hope for those of you who know what the General Services Administration is, that you will just bear with me as I explain, you know, just some about the General Services Administration and what we do. So the General Services Administration, our mission is to deliver the best value in real estate, acquisition, and technology services to government and the American people. GSA leases more than 9,000 assets, buildings, and office spaces, maintains an inventory of more than 375 million square feet of workspace, and preserves more than 450 historic properties, such as the courthouse here in Charlotte. GSA has an annual contract volume of over $60 billion, manages over 200,000 fleet vehicles, assists tens of thousands of federal travelers through our GSA travel system, and we serve as the focal point for data, information, and services offered by the federal government to citizens. We also represent more than $20 billion in IT and telecom spending for the federal government. That covers everything from phone contracts and data plans to cloud services and laptops. And we have a pretty extensive operation, and one that's becoming more challenging every day. I don't know if anybody's seen this type of service delivery before, but I say that this is going to be somewhat of this picture will be a thing of the past at some point. And we're working to make sure that we're utilizing technology and other resources to be more effective and efficient when it comes to delivering government services. So we can't afford to continue to do things that we used to do. We just don't have the budgets to do those things in the federal government anymore. We have to figure out how we streamline our federal government, how we're utilizing mobile technology to make sure that citizens who expect to receive services that way are receiving them in the most convenient and efficient and high-quality manner. So how are we doing that? We're doing that even just by beginning in the spaces where we work. GSA is quickly moving away from traditional workspaces that reinforce a hierarchy and a way of working that is not only inefficient, but no longer should exist. Thanks to mobile technology, we can build office space for what we need now that calls for office space that facilitates the kind of collaboration and agility needed to usher in the 21st century government. And so this desk that you see right here is my boss's desk in Washington, D.C. She does not have a big elaborate office. Soon my elaborate office, Cassius, will be a thing of the past once we renovate our property in Washington, in Atlanta. So these collaborative workspaces in Region 4, these are the workspaces in Region 4. This is what we're moving to. A style of engagement or a workspace that encourages a style of engagement not only makes management more accessible to their staff, but it makes my staff and coworkers more accessible to management and each other. And so instead of having to schedule appointments and run through everybody's assistants and so forth, I mean, it's an environment where I can just walk up to someone's desk and have a conversation about something that may be going on at that time. This is where we're headed. And GSA uses what we call the Total Workspace Program to help agencies like the Small Business Administration, the Department of Transportation, and others to move into these types of workspaces where we have a smaller footprint and we have a more efficient government operation. The buildings that encompass these workspaces are themselves a case study in government innovation. Early in his administration, President Obama asked GSA to co-lead the nation's sustainability initiatives with the Department of Energy and the Council of Environmental Quality. So you ask, why did he reach out to GSA? And it's simple. GSA is the largest commercial real estate manager in the country. We lead the way in green building design, construction retrofit, and sustainable operations and maintenance. We're leveraging building technologies that save energy, water, and reduce utility costs. We're also leveraging our fleet, our vehicle fleet, and procurement power to create and drive markets for sustainable goods and services. The Southeast Sunbelt region continues to demonstrate leadership in sustainability by deploying the best available technologies, designs, and operating practices in our current, future, and future building portfolio. We are making our buildings smarter by integrating systems, installing advanced metering, connecting systems to the internet, and automating them as much as possible. So this is a picture of what redundancy looks like. And this is the picture that we want to change. This is an example of how many or the various IT contracts that are out there in the federal government. And so what we're trying to do with what we call a common acquisitions platform is to create a shared services program where all federal agencies can utilize one source for their contracting needs. This is a very inefficient and unsustainable method for operating our federal government. When you have every federal agency with its own IT contracts, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. An example is when you look at some of the products that we acquire and buy. We have situations where we have these, I guess, what you call memory cards, where one vendor may be charging $6, but on the high end, another vendor may be charging $83. That's not the best value for our federal government. And with our mission at GSA, it's not us being a good steward of the taxpayers' money. So we're trying to make sure that we are using data to identify ways that we can make sure that we know what prices are paid across the federal government so that we get the best price for those products. And we're doing this through something that we call category management. And GSA is placing everything in a single grocery store aisle kind of a concept, kind of like an Amazon style of purchasing, where agencies and services, services and products are easily accessible in the same place. Category management is how Fortune 500 companies approach acquisition, and we're beginning to do the same thing. In practice, category management will connect industry with government buyers in a truly collaborative way that has never been done before. It will make sure that we have the expertise, the data, to be able to make wise decisions throughout the life cycle of acquisitions. And this is just a great contribution to our federal government in making sure that it's more efficient and that we are making sure that taxpayer money is being utilized the best way possible. Reverse auctions is something that I'm excited about. It is the brainchild and was created right in my region, in Region 4, by our National IT Commodities Program and launched in fiscal year 14. The GSA reverse auctions platforms allow sellers to win business from agencies by bidding. You can see real time with 100% transparency what is being bid on various products and services that various federal agencies need to accomplish their missions. I think that this is something that is exciting for small businesses because if you're on schedule, this is a free tool for you to utilize. If there's an agency that is out there that is looking to acquire goods or services, well, we're working on the services side right now. This is a place where you can go and see live auctions, and you determine whether you can match the prices that are put out there, and hopefully win that bid. Some data regarding reverse auctions, which is rather new, shows that, 85%? Yeah, 85% of the auctions awarded through this initiative were small businesses. That's to the tune of $22 million. So this is a program that's growing, and we hope that you will utilize it. Speaking of small businesses, GSA makes small business, expanding small business opportunities, one of our 6 priorities at GSA. And I will have to say that Chastity, who's taking the picture right there, and Millie are our 2 representatives from our Office of Small Business Utilization, and they do a mighty fine job of doing outreach and capabilities briefings and a number of other things to make sure that we reach those goals that the Small Business Administration tells us that we have to make at GSA. And I'm proud to say that for 2 years in a row, I didn't have a whole lot to do with the previous year's numbers, and we blew that out the water. But we had a great big project down in Mobile that was about $85 million that we thought was going to throw off our small business utilization goals. But these ladies and our acquisition team in Atlanta really did a bang-up job last year in fiscal year 15 and making sure that we reached our 32% small business utilization goal and actually achieved more like 44%. That does deserve a hand. So, I mean, when you're looking at the numbers, I mean, that means that we spent in this region about $1.6 billion with small businesses. And there's a caveat there. Those numbers are not final, but I am confident that we're going to make those numbers, okay? The final scorecard, I think, Cassius, will be out in what, April? April. So we'll get that from the Small Business Administration in April. I know I'm running long here, so those are the numbers. And those are the minority categories that are defined by the Small Business Administration. So, real quick, when I think about the future of government, I think back to when I started my government service in former Congressman Watt's office. And that office was one of 4 offices that was piloting email in 1994. This is a cover of Time magazine from some month in 1994. And if you think about where we were then, we were 4 House offices piloting email. If we were only 4 offices that were piloting email, who were we communicating with? Not very many people. I think we had an opportunity to communicate with the White House, but that's about it. But, you know, fast forward to the time that I left that office last year, August of last year, everybody had a mobile phone that had email on it, and we could communicate with any federal agency, any person almost in the world in a 20-year period of time. So when we think about where we were when I started 20 years ago and where we were when I left that office 20 years later, the way that we were thinking about delivering services had to change. It's not that it wasn't something that was optional. It had to change because all of us have these devices. I have 2. All of us have these devices, and we're becoming more and more to a point where we expect to receive services on these devices. The earlier conversation in Rethink, the first one, as a matter of fact, talked about mobile technology and the fact that we'll be doing more and more, such as banking and healthcare monitoring and so forth and so on. Well, the federal government, and I assume state and local governments, will be entering this space as well. And so this is a cover of Fast Company. There's an article in this issue of Fast Company. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read it if we're talking about the future of our government. The Obama administration, President Obama, has the foresight, and you saw this in his initial campaign where he embraced technology and data and things like that. Well, this article gives you some concept and some idea of where he sees the federal government going and how we need to evolve as a federal government. I showed you the picture of our workspaces in Atlanta. Our footprint is shrinking. There is less need for space because technology allows us to be able to work from anywhere. Mobile technology allows us to work from home in the federal government. We have a telework policy that we are improving and trying to perfect. So we won't have, in Atlanta, we have maybe half of our staff in the office on any given day or on a Friday. Everybody else is teleworking because technology allows us to be able to do that. So the brick and mortar that we typically would need is not necessary, not completely necessary now. We're moving towards a digital service delivery. And I just want to make that point because I think it's very important as we're thinking about where the ball is going and not where it is right now. In that article, it also mentions that the president is laying a foundation or creating an infrastructure through the U.S. Digital Services Office, which is responsible for developing strategy around the president's digital service delivery priorities. But it also mentions a group called 18F, which is a GSA group. And they're more or less consultants for federal agencies that need to improve their digital service delivery. We have some pretty smart people working in this group, a lot of them out in San Francisco. But I'd say to Charlotte that we have a great banking center here. We have a whole lot of people who have IT expertise in their portfolio. And you should think about this sector because this is where the federal government is going. There are all types of aspects of the digital service delivery sector. And, my personal opinion about it is that security is a great place to be. Digital service security is a great place to be. So I won't keep going on and on, but I want to make one last point. The GSA Open Government Plan, if you haven't seen this document, you should read it. If you haven't seen all of the other agencies' open government plans, you should read them. That will give you some idea about where our federal government is going. That's one thing that the president has done is to make sure that this is an open government. One of our greatest contributions to the president's open government initiative is what we call data.gov. Has anybody ever heard of data.gov? Got one person over there in the corner too. Data.gov. It is the place where, as that team 18F develops these digital platforms for the federal government, all of that information is provided, all that coding information is provided at data.gov. And there are companies out there that you're already utilizing that has utilized that data. And we estimate the value add to the economy, the world economy, of this data, these data sets being available to be about $3 trillion a year. So when you click on LinkedIn, Zillow, and some other companies that are out there that have used these data sets, you have indeed benefited from the fact that we have an open government environment and we're providing private industry with all of this information so that they don't have to do the groundwork, and they can move forward and, contribute to our economy a lot better. So that's all I have for this morning. I know it's a lot to digest, and really that was the high-level presentation and just the tip of the iceberg with regard to what GSA does. We do so much, and I'm extremely blessed and appreciative to have the honor to serve this administration as the regional administrator for GSA. And I know that we will have a question and answer session at some point. Thank you.
Just some housekeeping. Thank you, Regional Administrator Jessup. Just to do some housekeeping before we get going, we actually were joined by another elected official, Rodney Moore, Representative Rodney Moore. Where did you? Here he is. And two of the gentlemen that actually helped to make sure that we do this successfully as a city would be Pat Mumford with Neighborhood Business Services and Bill Cronin with the Neighborhood Business Services as well. More housekeeping. If you notice across the hall, we have a couple agencies, including the city and SBA, that actually set up a resource room across the hall. So when you get up to go to the restroom, if you want to stop by there, you can do that. There's information on the tables about the different programs and opportunities each one of the groups have. As well as if you wait until after this is over, they'll be over there until noon to give you an opportunity to actually go talk one-on-one to people that actually do the things that these folks are telling us about today. We also are joined by a group called Sugar Creek Partners. And I know that means nothing to you until I tell you that you came down I-77 this morning in construction, and you've been hearing in the media about the high occupancy lanes, managed lanes. I'm trying not to use the word toll. But regardless of how you feel about it, and I am a believer that the only way we're going to do infrastructure is through private-public partnerships. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's up and going, and there are opportunities for small businesses to participate. So the construction company that's involved in it, again, Sugar Creek Partners, is set up across the hall as well. So if you want to go by and talk to them, that'd be great. When we jumped into this, I didn't have a chance to really kind of go over what the objectives were dealing with technology. It's funny, Tori, you just talked about the importance of technology, and I couldn't get my iPad to work, but I can get my cell phone to work. The goal is to determine the products and services being sought by the federal government and here locally. To talk about how you get the future opportunities, and you just heard technology is going to be a huge piece of that. To inform prospective and current entrepreneurs about how to position themselves. This is not about just how to get contracts now for me. To me, that's easy. I want to make sure that I set you up to get contracts in the future, and I want you to know what a puck's going to be so you can go after that. And to assist attendees in formulating global strategies, we'll talk about that later, and to make you aware of the resources from government agencies like SBA and GSA. So before we go to the next speaker, I'm going to do this throughout the rest of the time that we're together. I'm going to talk about the tale of three cities, not two cities. Used to hearing two. We're going to talk about the tale of three cities. The first city we're going to talk about is the city of Atlanta. One of the things that I know about Atlanta when you compare it to Charlotte is that Atlanta had the DNC in 1988. We had in 2012. By the year 1996, they had the Olympics, 8 years later. The point is that they were dreaming big about what to do with opportunities on the national stage. That's not something we do a really good job at. Do that again. They went from 1988 to 1996, and they had the Olympics. They were intentional about how they did that. They positioned themselves. I asked one of my friends in Atlanta how they did that, and maybe my friends from Atlanta can help me with that. Maybe it's just myth. But they actually made sure that they set up 1, 2-person offices in all of the cities where the Olympic Committee members lived around the world. It's all about relationships. It's all about being intentional. And just to kind of show the parallels, one of the reasons why we had the DNC, we have some friends in the room that helped us with that. Will Miller, who led the host committee. Will, raise your hand. One of the most intentional people I know, is determined to make Charlotte part of that, as well as Tori, who again was deputy of the host committee. And Tori, you did not mention, you guys had a minority spend goal on the DNC. What was that, and what did you wind up with?
It was 1/3, and I'm sorry, I don't recall what the final number was, but it was above 1/3.
It was over 1/3.
It was well over 1/3.
It was well over 1/3. There are opportunities here, folks. We just got to take advantage of it. The other thing that you should know about Atlanta is that Atlanta, back then, arguably their population in the metropolitan area was smaller than ours, is where we are when we had the DNC. And they now are they have the second largest concentration of government jobs outside of DC in the country. Is that correct as well? Okay, Charlotte, we need to be more intentional. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next person up is a young man that I would hope would be able to help you understand how you take advantage of finding the resources to grow your business, as well as maybe talk to you about how to do business with them. Next up, we have Deputy Administrator for SBA, Cassius Butts. I actually had a chance to meet him a couple of years ago. Just a quick bio, and I'll let him tell you more about himself, but he was appointed by President Obama back in 2011. He is responsible for the delivery of SBA programs in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. During his appointment, Administrator Butts has managed the oversight of 3 record-breaking years for SBA lending in Region 4. Nearly $12 billion in SBA-backed loans have been awarded to small business within his responsibility, his states of responsibility. One more thing before I turn it over to Administrator Butts. One of the things that we found out in Charlotte a couple of years ago through a study through Knight Foundation is that Charlotte was at the bottom when it came to taking advantage of actual government programs that would help minority businesses grow. What they found is that we, as small business owners, I want to be a small business owner, you all as small business owners, actually in this area depend more on your credit cards and your own savings than you do going after programs that are there to help you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Regional Administrator Butts, and he can tell us more about how you guys, we all, can grow that capacity here in Charlotte. You can clap.
Thank you. Testing. Is that on? Can y'all hear me fine? I don't need to hold this. You can hear me okay? I won't be too long, but I'll be very specific, and I'll be very direct, and I'll hope to have a little bit of fun while I'm here. I'd like to first acknowledge everyone who decided to come here today to listen, to learn a little bit about how to become an entrepreneur, how to be a more seasoned entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, raise your hand. See engagement, look at that. Give yourselves a round of applause for just showing up today. You can clap, you can clap. Now keep in mind, I'm gonna talk for less than 15 minutes, but if I kind of look like this, that means just go ahead and clap. It makes me feel like I'm, we're all here together. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. The reality is that we are here for a reason, to serve you. As Councilman Member Howard mentioned, that we were gathered here today to talk about making a difference in our respective communities. Nick, Jerry Ann, Eric, as you're going to hear just shortly, are all going to talk about how we can help you become and realize your entrepreneurial dreams. So you think about that, take some good notes, and make sure you ask a lot of good questions. A third of my comments really are first just saying thank you. I love coming to Charlotte. I live in Atlanta, but I love being here in Charlotte. First, I want to acknowledge my district director for the entire state of North Carolina. Councilman Howard had me twisted with the deputy. I said, don't give me demotion yet. I'm still halfway. No, that's okay, that's okay. But our district director for the state of North Carolina is here, Lynn Douthat. I just saw Lynn. There she is in the back. Let's give Lynn a round of applause. We are here with our staff as well. Mia Fagley, who is our lead business opportunity specialist. Stand up, Mia, let folks see you. Glad to be here. You know, it's always good when you have some good friends, Councilman, to be in a place, Tori, where we can help make differences. Tori, did not mention, but Tori and I actually have been friends since we were teenagers. We were at Darrell Morehouse together. You left that out the bio. We went to Darrell Morehouse. Yeah, we went to Morehouse. I know we're in Charlotte, but we went to Morehouse. And we were friends. We lived on the same door. And faith has brought us together, continue to serve next to each other. He deserves a round of applause. He's one of your own. Thank you. He deserves it. Keep clapping. Keep clapping. Keep clapping. Keep clapping.
It makes me uncomfortable.
If you haven't figured this out, in the next 14 minutes, I was going 3 places when I finished Morehouse: law school, grad school, and seminary school. So I'm huge on giving acknowledgement. I'm huge on making certain that I stand out of my own way. I'm huge on making certain that we say thank you when we have the opportunity to do that publicly. And I'm huge on at least acting like I want to be here, even though I want to be here sometimes. I say it because I used to teach graduate school, so I'll just sit and I'll smile and I'll, you know, you do this. Just do that for me for the next 12 minutes. See, I'm counting down, so we'll be out here. It is important when we talk about what this administration has done, but it's also important to talk about the key stakeholders here. A good friend of mine has actually ran economic development in the state of Florida. In Enterprise, Florida, he's ran nonprofit, the American Red Cross in South Carolina. He has helped to change, Councilman, the way that we shape, live, and play in Atlanta and invest in Atlanta. He is now here in the great state of North Carolina. My good friend Bill Cronin, who is your head of economic development for the city of Charlotte. Bill, give Bill a round of applause. It's so good to see you. Keep clapping for him. Keep clapping for him. Keep clapping for him. Because, Councilman, you talk about the things we did in Atlanta. We have him right here in Charlotte, and he's helping to make differences already. Bill, I'm gonna make sure we get together before we leave today. So good to see you. You see how important that is? That'll make you feel good when you acknowledge folks. The reality is that that's what we're here for. And I'm here to acknowledge you in your presence. You want to make a difference in your businesses and in your respective communities. It's important to do that. And if we don't do that, then we can't continue to prosper. We can't continue to live in this world of small business. Over 98% of the economy runs off of small business. So really, the small business owners are the ones who make a difference. You saw me up there a little while ago. I was on my phone. I wasn't just, talking. I was actually tweeting. And I was tweeting because I was looking at how many people are actually involved in it. And if you're here, Dan Roselli, are you here today, Dan? He just walked out. He was on it. Susan McDonough. Susan? All right. Alicia Lalone and Lulu. There you go. How about that? Let's give Lulu a round of applause. I just followed you on Twitter. My name is Cassius Butts, but listen, we follow each other on SBA Southeast. This is what we do. You do both if you like. My point is that the message gets out, even for folks who are not here. And it goes out throughout the entire world. So when we talk about what's taking place here, we're getting the message out through technology in ways we've never really accomplished before. This past fiscal year here in the state of North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, Lynn, we backed nearly $560 million in loans, almost $500 million in loans to small businesses here in the state of North Carolina. Most folks would clap for that when they do that. I know your hands is full right now. Most folks, thank you. You can clap too, Una Brown. Just look at, there you go, thank you. Because you're the ones who's making a difference. And if you didn't clap, that means you're here to learn how to get part of that, excuse me, $560 million. Is that right? Right. Come on up here with me, because you said yes. Yes, you come on up here with me. So when you think about what are you here for? Come on. You think about, come on, we got 8 minutes left. We think about what do we really want to accomplish today? What is your name, ma'am?
Karen Moore.
And what are you here for?
I'm here to learn how I can be more effective in my business.
More effective in your business, right?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your business?
Uh,
Got 14 seconds.
okay, wait a minute.
Okay, I can't wait. We have
Cloud applications.
cloud
We
applications.
develop in Salesforce.
And who is we?
My partner and I,
And what is your name of your company?
Enlight Solutions.
That's what we're getting to. Okay, you have a Twitter handle? You have a,
Not yet. We're working on
Working
all
on
of
it?
that now.
Okay.
Everything's been a work in progress.
all right, Mia, you hear that? So we got some folks we're going to work with back here. And what else? Anything else you want to tell us about you?
Well, there's also another a part of our business that we want to branch out, and that would be in the education sector.
Okay.
We'd like to provide more knowledge as far as information technology to our students and, you know, and
Are you, I'm gonna cut you off for a second. Are you certified?
certified in my
No, just hold, no, don't worry about Eric, so you got one. You got one. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much. It's all about sharing, folks. It's all about sharing. That's what we're here for, to make connections with folks who have like minds. We really want to build this ecosystem of really entrepreneurship and making a difference. I mentioned what we did in SBA this past fiscal year, but I also would like to take this opportunity to bring up Lynn Douthit so you will know who she is and you can become familiar with what she does. She has a great staff here, looking to meet the rest of them this afternoon. But when I mentioned and said that they have back nearly $500 million to loans to small business, I just want Lynn to come on up for a moment and just talk just for 2 minutes about what's taking place in Charlotte, in North Carolina, and how you can participate with the Small Business Administration in the state of North Carolina. Lynn Douthit.
Thank you, Cassius. Well, it's exciting to be here with a group of entrepreneurs that have the energy that you do. And this is where SBA actually provides opportunities for you not only to learn about government contracting, but how to get money. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really follow the money, right, folks? So our job really is to help connect you with financial resources, whether it's through our traditional lending partners, but also through a community of folks like the Support Center, like Mountain BizWorks. We have a group of folks who are alternative lenders that can provide capital for in very small amounts of money, and those lenders who will do it up to $5 million in financing. So whether you're looking to get some equipment, inventory, build a building, working capital, we have lenders out there that can help you, and it's our job to connect you. So that's one of the things that's happening. We've got more lenders in the program today than we ever have in the state of North Carolina. It's a very collegial network, and we work tirelessly to get them to do deals that they traditionally would not do. So that's number one. Number two, our procurement numbers. This year we did across the state over $5 billion for small business lending throughout the state of North Carolina, which is huge. And given the fact that there has been a decline in funding through sequestration, and our military bases have not gotten the amount of spend that they traditionally have, the fact that we have stayed on par year over year has been really essential. And our 8A program has gotten over $750 million in procurement dollars in the past year. So we want to help you learn how to do business not only on the federal level, but more importantly as well on the state and local level, and Nick is your guy. So that's what's been happening in procurement. And in counseling and training, we've counseled in terms of our overall partnership over 50,000 small businesses in the last year. That's one-on-one counseling, free technical assistance counseling, as well as more in-depth counseling through a program called Emerging Leaders, which our partners at the Carolina Minority Supplier Diversity Council has been a part of, CPCC has been a part of. We are looking at doing intensive programs with senior leadership in our small businesses so you can learn how to scale your business, build capacity, and employ more folks in your neighborhoods. So at the end of the day, we are committed to really do all of these core competencies that SBA is about: capital, contracting, and counseling. And we have found that more businesses are successful when you have a mentor and a counselor to walk alongside of you. That's what we're here to do. That's what your tax dollars do. And we are very proud and privileged to be a part of being a success for your small business.
All right, how about that? Thank you, Lynn. In closing, it really does warm my heart to see many people in the room that's looking to realize your entrepreneurial dreams and figure out how to get access to capital, and to know that your tax dollars are working here for you. Just know that when you are here and you're sitting at a table, open yourself up to someone. Talk to the person to the left and to the right of you. Sound like the end of service, don't it? About to call it for congregation. So talk about those opportunities that you would like to see happen in your business and open yourself up to that person next to you. I was walking in, and I'm almost done. I got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. I was walking in, and this young lady walked back to me. And Councilman, I love when folks call me young man. I'm about 45. People still call me young man. I appreciate that. And so this young lady was walking next to me, and we were getting on the elevator. You know how it is when you walk in this elevator. You don't know, I didn't know where to go. You look at the elevator, and you're like, okay, which one do you push? And, you know, I was in another city, and I realized that's what you do. How many people got stuck just trying to figure out how to tell the truth? Yes, you did. First time. Oh, you just got on. Okay, so you can appreciate it. So I got on, and she just got on. And she said, well, you look like you know where you're going. I said, you look like you know where you're going. And she said, well, actually, are you going to 267? I said, actually, I am. I'm going to 267. So we start talking and, you know, just got her information. I just want to acknowledge her because you never know. Sometimes folks can make a difference in your life. Janet Perkins from Veterans Transport Services. Raise your hand, let folks see you. She kept saying, she said, you must be someone people you talk to. I'm just a taxpayer. And I mean that, and I mean that humbly, because I mentioned that, and here's the way that we close this in the last 48 seconds. This past fiscal year, we have increased our loans to veterans throughout the entire nation, 337% to our veterans. Any veterans in the room here? Let's clap for our veterans. And so, Janet, we want to make certain that we stay connected with you as a veteran-owned business to see how we can continue to support you, and to let you know that when you were thoughtful last night, you were thoughtful this morning, you were intentional this morning to wake up and to be here, to have expectation to succeed. Now, hopefully that those expectations are answered, all right? Thank you very much for your time and your attention. We look forward to our speakers and continue to have a great day.
Regional Administrator, I was making you deputy of the whole SBA. That's what I was doing. So go back and tell Denise that I said you need a promotion.
Thank you.
As we move on, we're going to go back to the next person up, and I'm not sure because he's filling in for us. I'm not sure if we got one for him, but I'm going to tell you about Eric Watson. Eric is the president and CEO of Carolina, Virginia Minority Suppliers Development Council. That is a private nonprofit organization with more than 175 corporate members and 430 certified minority business enterprise members. And I think that's the certification that the regional administrator was just talking about. So Eric's going to tell us all about it. His organization actually covers North Carolina, South Carolina, and Central Virginia. He actually has 33 years of experience in operations management, including 18 years in the field of diversity and inclusion. More importantly to Charlotte, he actually is the former head of the Minority Outreach and Inclusion Programs for Food Lion and his parent company. And something that you may not know about Eric is that Eric's commitment to diversity and inclusion and the sponsorship of the CIAA had a lot to do with their commitment to staying here in Charlotte and being a longtime player here in Charlotte. So we owe him for that, if nothing else. So in February, when you're having fun, remember Eric Watson. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric. And Eric, you're going to do your presentation from there. Do you actually have a PowerPoint?
Nope, I'm good from here.
All right, so now he's going to tell us how to get certified.
Thank you. And I sometimes tell a joke about people being asked 2 or 3 times to speak, and the third person finally says, yes, I will. I am the third person, so I am third stringer, and I only ask 2 things: no slides, and don't put me behind Cassius. And I could control one, the other one I couldn't. As you saw, Cassius puts us in good hands, he and Lynn, in the work that they do. So I just ask you to join me in thanking him again for the work. Also, David, thank you for thinking big and having this kind of conversation, collaborative conversation in our city. At times we talk a lot about doing, and what's missing in the doing is the thinking. And we don't think together. because we go to work and we talk about why it's not working, because we don't stop and slow down and think together like this so that we understand what we're trying to accomplish. I also would tell Tori, my predecessor worked with you in the DNC, and so these devices tell me that Charlotte Business Journal said the DNC was just short of 50%. Your 30% goal was just short of 50%. So that was a partnership that we had with the DNC prior to my being in the role. So there's two objectives here that I saw they had. One was to inform perspective of current entrepreneurs and how they can better position themselves to do business with the federal government, and then provide resources to assist small businesses in building their capacity to pursue government opportunities. One of the things when I was asked to do this, I was clear. I'm somewhat of a contrarian, so you'll hear good and bad about things, and sometimes I tell my team, it's never as bad as you think it is, never as good as you think it is, but if you stay positive, you'll get things done. At the end of the day, this work, government or private, is around economic development. The part that we have to work on is economic inclusion. So at the end of the day, the opportunities are there. Are we doing the work to make sure that people who have historically not been involved get involved and have the opportunities? The good news is the federal government is doing more than they ever had to provide these opportunities. They're providing more funding than they ever had. The other thing that Cactus did, so you'll probably get 5 or 10 minutes back, I was going to ask Lynn to come up and talk about just a successful venture we had just recently with emerging leaders. And Lynn, I'm going to ask you to come back up to that mic and just share. It was a partnership that shows about the development that gets you to the next level, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Eric. This is a very important opportunity for CEOs and small businesses to grow and build, not only in terms of their understanding of how to scale a business, but as well as how to think through strategic decisions that have to be made. SBA has partnered with Enterprise. We have done this over the past 10 years in 48 cities. And we have counseled over 2,400 small businesses. We've seen over $70 million in government contracting. And we've seen over 7,100 new employees added to these small businesses. So last year, Charlotte was selected as a key city to include in this whole Emerging Leaders initiative across the country. So we selected, in partnership with our Eric Watson's team, CPCC, the Charlotte Chamber, the city as well, the minority business enterprise area, a whole host of partners to reach out to businesses that are part of their membership in order to engage them and apply to participate. We have Carla? Tamisha, I'm sorry, from Anointed Flooring here today. She is a graduate of this program, and she will absolutely, thank you. She will absolutely testify that this 16-week program, as intense as it was, helped her as well as her colleagues better understand their cash flow, better understand how to evaluate. Do I, for example, we had Treehouse Vineyards. I'm going to use them as an example. They were looking at how to evaluate whether or not they should stay in the weekend festival type of program that they had that they thought they were making money on, or move into developing a whole line and hosting weddings. And they saw that they could actually use less resources, increase their margins, and have more of an impact in the community by going into the wedding vertical versus staying into this festival type of initiative that they were involved in. But at the end of the day, he really did not know how to think through that process. And this is what they teach you how to do. So we actually had folks say, I have a better relationship with my accountant because now I speak his language. I get what it is that he's asking me to do. Those are the kind of valuable takeaways that as an entrepreneur, we need to be able to help folks excel in, because a lot of times we just don't know what we don't know. So this is where our partnership with Eric's folks have really made a difference in developing entrepreneurs. We had 15 folks graduate from the program. They will be part of our mentoring team ongoing, and hopefully this coming year, early in February, we will be sending out through Eric's group, as well as the city and our other partners, about becoming involved in this program. So hopefully you'll think about it as a way to grow your business as well.
Thank you, Lynn. So if you're interested in taking part in the next session, please let us know. That's just an example of what this work is about, which is basically collaboration. When you think about the things that the government is doing, one of the challenges I see is just having access to information to know. And for you not to be aware of that is a miss on my part, anyone, as I serve you in this community. So anyone that's interested, or if you know someone that could want to participate, let us know. The other thing about what's going on with the government now is doing things that really make a difference. At the council, we do 4 things. We certify, we develop, we advocate, and then the 4th thing, we connect. At the end of the day, what we find for most of our partners who are corporations in the private sector is they want people to be more capable and have more capacity. You can only do that through development, which is being paid for and supported by the SBA. Things like the 8A program and being hub certified, these provide you with things that you never hear about in the private sector. No offense to people who pay my salary, but you're a sole source. You have a preference to opportunities. You don't get that in the competition you're going to get in the private sector. There's policies that you have access to, and then there's a different behavior that really works to impact your bottom line. If I look at the city, my board chairs with CMS, they do a lot of work to try to make sure that their outreach is reaching here locally. What I would want us to do is make sure we don't miss the funding that exists on a government level. So when you look at government versus private, and this is where someone may say I'm a bit contrarian, I just want to make sure you understand the rules of the road. It's much clearer when you work with the government. You may say it's compliance, it's paperwork, but once you get in, you understand the process. On the private side, it's a little different process. I mean, it's who you know, how you get in, how long you stay in, and you know the story. So I won't belabor that, but the private sector, in a little different way, has a lot going on, but indirectly, the government is creating opportunities. So when you think about what we should be doing as a council, we can certify a lot of people. We can develop a lot of people. At the end of the day, if you're not making money, then things don't really work. Been married 33 years, don't tell my wife, 34, in January. And in those 34 years, it wasn't love at first sight. So I tell people, it takes a long time to build a sustainable relationship. The reality of those 34 years also is just understanding in that 34 years you create a partnership. The government is creating partnerships with folks so you can create wealth. It's a different thing having a contract versus creating wealth. And the unfortunate thing is we work to get contracts. We need to be looking at creating partnerships that create wealth. And so, at the end of the day, the funding that's available too often doesn't get tapped into. So we need to work in this community to make sure you know and have access to that funding. The other thing I would tell you is the government is looking to change the size. Now this has some yin and yang to it. As they change the size, for instance, there used to be a cap that was $750,000 for a small business. They've gone up to 1.3. Well, in going up to 1.3, the thing that happens is small can sort of slide into mid-size and larger companies. So the competition changes, and smaller companies get sort of pushed aside. Now, if you think about that in the private sector, private sector with supply chain, they're condensing the number of vendors they have. There are fewer vendors, and similar to the government, they're looking at the people who can do work with. So if you get in on the government side, you have a track that's going to be consistent. When you work in the private sector, and it's what I do every day, you're going to have to compete on an ongoing basis. That's why partnership is so important. And then when you look at the spending, they've gone up. In 2013, there was $460 billion in contracts for small business. That's about 83%. They've gone up to 90%. So they're increasing the amounts of opportunities. What we have to do is make sure you know about those opportunities, and that's part of what the council's responsibility is. Now, the other yin and yang, the challenges. As you look at the private sector, a lot of small businesses have to move to tier 2 and 3, meaning you don't get to work direct. When you're working with the government, you get the contracts, especially if you're 8A, you're going to get direct access. You could be tier 2 or 3 in a government contract, but private sector, because of their scaling down to have fewer contractors, they want to partner, or you're going to partner most likely to stay. You're going to end up with maybe as a tier 1, a tier 2 or tier 3. Nothing wrong with that, you want access, but just understand the government process may get you in more fluidly than before. The other opportunity that I would ask you to think about from an MBE standpoint, as things change and they want fewer MBEs, size matters. So one of the things that you have to do as a small business is look for partnerships. Don't let a contract get away without looking for somebody you can work with in a strategic alliance. And I'll say a strategic alliance rather than a partnership where you got legal, a strategic alliance to get that contract. And when you see those things, the small business strategic alliances are not as much heard of as in big business. We got to look to work together. To miss getting money is not a good thing. You've got to look to find somebody that can help you utilize the opportunity. So the other thing that I would tell you, currently in the state, there is an IT contract, if anyone's in IT, that's currently out. They've come to us looking for IT contractors. We just submitted our MBDA offering on yesterday with the Institute out of Raleigh, so we will be working to provide opportunities through our MBDA. And then lastly, I'd sort of close with, what do you need to do to not only access government contracts, but just to access business? One, you have to develop and know how to scale. So the thing I would ask, if you're developing, as you're developing, do you really know what your differentiated value is? How do you bring something that's differentiated from what everybody else is doing? And how do you articulate that specific, maybe preferably in an elevator speech? Can you say what you do well? Second, wherever you're doing business, government or private, understand how they make money. When you don't understand the processes, then you're sort of at a loss. So here's some of the challenge, and I was sharing with Tori. You know, what I find is most times, 8A is one example. One, we don't know the process for completing all the paperwork. Then we don't complete all the paperwork. And what we would say is that it's just like, and this is, I don't want to make remedial, but it's like when I had to take the SAT test. I didn't like to take tests, period. So why would I like taking the SAT? What happened? I didn't do well on it, but you got to know the test. So you got to know the processes, understand the processes, and then go and do the paperwork. It's long, it's arduous, but once you get in, there's preferential treatment. So understanding government access and relationships are strong and they run deep. The second thing is, don't let race or being small be a barrier. You have to be bold. If you don't think big, nobody else will think about it. Nobody's put money in my pocket just for free. I wake up every morning, the only thing that's in there is in my bank account. So if you don't think bold, if you don't look for big opportunities, they're not going to come to you. And then last thing I would say, the import-export business is a whole space that's not being captured in my market. I have from Newport News to Charleston. When they dredge, that is going to be a world of opportunity. So if you have a product or service, when you think about from the Virginia coast to the South Carolina coast tons of opportunity that's going to be in that space. So clearly get prepared to look at systems that'll carry you to wealth, not just getting a contract. So I am going to stop there and be around for any questions.
Thank you, Eric. If you didn't pick up on what was the most important thing out of what he just said, the word relationship should stay with you when you leave. It's about relationships, not contracts. If you hadn't tweeted that out, you need to, because that's one of the most important things that he said. Relationships are important. Speaking of relationships, as we transition, we're going to go to Jerry Ann. Jerry Ann, are you going to come over here?
Yes.
Yes, she's going to transition over here. While she's doing that, Jerry Ann is currently the Economic Development Small Business Liaison for the City of Charlotte. She is responsible for analyzing and ranking organizations that support businesses in Charlotte, in the Charlotte region, assessing gaps and overlaps, and ultimately coordinating strategies and programs to achieve positive and productive relationships. Again, relationships. She helped to launch a robust communication plan for the city's high-growth entrepreneur strategy and composed Small Business Services Communications. She also was very involved with the launch of the CharlotteBusinessResources.com website, which I'm sure she's going to tell you more about. So with that, and what we're doing, by the way, is that we're going to take questions. We're going to get to it. So write your questions down so we can move through that process after we finish with Nick. We will get around that, having you have an opportunity to ask questions. Also, the survey's on the back of the program, so remember to give us feedback as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry Ann.
Thank you, Councilmember Howard. Good morning. Morning. Okay, I know we've been here for a while, but let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. Again, I am Jerry Ann Jackson. How many of you all have visited the website charlottebusinessresources.com? Show of hands. Can I get one person to tell me what the website is about? And if you don't, oh, Kamisha. Just stand up. Thank you.
Basically, just an overall view of it. It basically tells you how to get opportunities within Charlotte. It has a whole plethora of resources, from if you're starting a business to established businesses. So, I mean, it's the go-to for business entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Kamisha. Here's a prize for you. So Kamisha summed it up. CharlotteBusinessResources.com. It's going into its 5th year. It is a web portal that has a lot of information about growing and starting your business in Charlotte. It is managed by the City of Charlotte, and my peer, Christy Floyd, is in the room. She's actually the manager of the website, but it's sponsored by the City of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, a lot of different organizations, the Charlotte Chamber, the Black Chamber. But if you have not gone on the website, please go there today and save it as your favorite. Again, there's a lot of good information on there. There's a calendar of events on there that if you want to get engaged on what's going on in Charlotte, if you want to network, not net eat, not net sit, but network and understand what's going on in the Charlotte community, this website has a lot of good information. So we're going to go there quickly, and I'm going to show you, Albert, if you can mind helping me get there. There is also a contracting page on the website. So if you want information about contracts and what the City of Charlotte may offer, what the state of North Carolina may offer, on our contracting page, if you click down, and again, there's information about certifications. The City of Charlotte offers a certification. The state of North Carolina offers a certification. And there's also a system called the North Carolina Interactive Purchasing System. If you go to this website, and if you click here, if you're not already registered with North Carolina IPS, that is a wonderful system for you to learn about upcoming contracts. Again, if you want information about starting your business, if you are in the process of opening a business and you want to know what regulations your business may need, if you're opening up a restaurant and you want to know what Mecklenburg County may require of you, you can go to this starting tab and you can find a lot of great information. And again, Christy Floyd is here, and we can talk about during the Q&A session if you have any questions about what you may need and how you can find it on the website. I'm going to show you a quick video that we did on the website,
has
and we're
evolved
really
into
trying
one.
to get engaged and show the Charlotte community of some wonderful businesses that we have. So I'm going to show you this. If you all, do anybody know Neighboring Concepts? Wonderful company in Charlotte. We spotlighted 3 wonderful companies, and this is one of the videos. I'm going to show it to you really
Where
quickly.
we're able to sustain the passion to practice the type of architecture that gets us up in the morning.
Right, how you doing?
Grew up in a family of bricklayers. It was tough, it was hard work. Worked with my dad, my uncles, my grandfather, I think gave me the desire to take it a step further and become an architect. The city of Charlotte gave us a great opportunity. When they decided to do light rail, we were one of the firms that were involved in that. We also had an opportunity to do our first parking deck. We did the 485 parking deck with the park on top.
So the good thing about parametric modeling,
The opportunity that the city of Charlotte has given us has allowed us to grow and not only help our firm, but help those parts of our community where a lot of architects don't want to go.
The new Renaissance development here that you see in progress is a former public housing complex. It had a lot of the challenges that most public housing complexes have.
Growing up in that environment, which were socially and physically challenged, is what has given me the passion to work in the kind of communities we work in.
The whole purpose of redeveloping this was to make this a better place for people to live and to grow and to improve their lives. This is the kind of project that helps us feel good about going to work. We're designing something that we feel will help people want to give back once they've gotten to a certain level.
And I think that's what makes this city what it is. If you want to be successful, if you want to grow, if you want to do something, I think Charlotte is a great city for that.
So this is one of 4 websites that, or videos, that we created to spotlight on our website. And how does that make you feel? Charlotte is a great place to be to start a business, and we want to inspire business owners to be in Charlotte and to understand that we are here to help support you. Also, social media. Who is following us on social media? Does anyone know our Twitter handle? Anybody? I got a cup if you know it. Christy?
It's at CBRBiz, B-I-Z.
So if you have not followed us on Twitter, please follow us on Twitter. And we want you to get engaged. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. What our goal is to make sure that as business owners and as entrepreneurs, you are well connected in what's going on in Charlotte. We want to make sure you have the resources, you understand the organizations that are here to help you. Central Piedmont Community College has a small business center. They offer free classes, some paid-for classes that are good resources for you to start a business. Are any of you members of the Charlotte Chamber or the Black Chamber or the Latin American Chamber? They are all great organizations, again, that can help you grow your business. Also, a business spotlight. On our website, we have a business spotlight section. Christy and I are always looking for good businesses that we would like to spotlight. Why is that important, and how does that help you? We have thousands of followers on our social media. We have a lot of people that come to our website daily, and we want to help market your company, and we want the world to know that Charlotte is a great place to be to start a business. So if you would like to be featured as a blog, on our blog, or as a featured company, please see myself and, again, Christy Floyd at the end of the session, and we will get you connected for future blog posts. Again, what's our Twitter handle? All right. What is our website? What's the website? Okay, let's try this again. Let's everybody wake up. What is the website? Okay, and what are you going to do when you get back to your office, or what are you going to do right now?
Follow on Twitter.
Okay, make it as a favorite. Register. Follow us on social media. And who manages the website? Christy Floyd at the City of Charlotte. Okay, let me see. What other question? Councilmember Howard, give him a question.
What's her name?
Okay, there you go. Thank you again, and that's all.
For a minute there, when she asked everybody a question and everybody sung out, I thought she was going to do an Oprah and say, everybody gets a mug. You get a mug, and you get a mug. I kept thinking Christy was going to jump up and start passing them out. So as we round this up, I'm trying to get there. You see, we got a lot of great information. So let me introduce our last speaker so we can get to the actual Q&A. Nick is a leader at the Procurement Technical Assistance Center at the Small Business Technology Center out in Charlotte, out on the UNC Charlotte campus. What they do is try to make sure that they help small businesses connect to resources and to grow their own capacities. Nick, I'm over probably summarizing this. So why don't I stop and let you take it from there, and Nick can tell you the rest of what they do, because it's a lot more technical than I can explain. Are you coming over here?
Was born in the lockdown. Thank you, Councilman Howard. It's hard being last and following great speakers. Sometimes after being last, you feel like maybe the world was a tuxedo and you were a pair of brown shoes. Cassius, you are young, because when I first awarded my first GSA scheduled contract awarded, you were probably 4 or 5 years old. I'm with the Small Business and Technology Development Center, and we've been around since 1984. And I belong with the Procurement Technical Assistance Center as a counselor there. There's 93 of us nationwide. There's 6 in North Carolina. I cover the Charlotte area and 8 counties nearby. Our general business counselors at SBTDC provide a variety of free counseling, business plans, finance, marketing, how to get loans, international business development is also covered there for free. I cover the procurement side of the house, and I was asked to talk about small, local and state government contracting. My role in that area is to help you navigate through that maze of government procurement, help you with the certifications, help you market your business to government, let you understand what these rules and regulations are all about. We can also review your bids and proposals before you submit them, so take advantage of that. Again, I was asked to talk about small and local government, but we also cover federal. These 3 tables over here, with people standing at these 3 tables, stand up. Okay. I picked you because you're all good looking, and but these people standing up represent sales, all goods and services sold and acquired by the federal government. You all sitting represent all the purchases, goods and sales by state and local government throughout the United States. You have the major portion of the government contracting business, 3.5 to 4 times more than the federal government. There's a lot of opportunities for you at the state and local government. Thank you. You didn't know that, did you? The federal government, state and local purchasing, a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. A lot of similarities in that you have to follow rules and regulations. The federal government has the FAR as a central point for regulations. States and local governments, they have the state statutes. They have local government ordinances and requirements also on their purchase orders. But there is a vast difference in that regard. You have a portal for getting into those contracts. The federal government has FBO, Fed Biz Ops. Local governments and state governments have different mechanisms. The state has the IPS. You both, on both sides of the fence, state, local, and federal, have to be familiar the processes and the certifications. There are preference programs on both sides of the house, too. The federal government has a variety of preference programs. The state and local governments have a variety of preferences as well. In your handouts at your table that was passed out are some charts that I couldn't put on the slide because they were just too busy. But these, the first chart, opportunities by agency type, shows you the percentage by state, city, county, special districts, and education. In general, the cities have 34% of the local state government purchasing. States, 27%, 17% go to counties, 12% to education, and 10% to utilities. So this first chart breaks that out for you under major categories. For example, under A&E, in the first column, the state acquires 25% of that, city 41%, county 17%, special district 10%, education can be the 8%. And you can apply that to all those other categories underneath that. Do you see that? It's a good breakout of what states and cities and local governments purchase, including education. On the second page, breaks out that information by award value. Take the first one again, A&E, 25,000 to 99,000, 40%, 100,000 to $1 million at 46%, 1 million or more at 14%. And then you can see that across the various products and services. And on the third page, you'll see the annual volume of contracting per industry. The number of bids and RFPs issued by major categories in industry. As you see, construction is number 1. Number 2 is operations and maintenance. 3 is transportation and vehicles. 4th is professional services, and you'll see the rest of them there. I brought my lunch with me. There's a variety of books out there on how to succeed in government procurement and contracting. Variety of recommendations, and they vary all over the place. Some say to succeed, you have to put in the mix some protons, electrons, neutrons, and a lot of morons. You shake it about, nothing comes out. But some of the key ingredients through my experience to succeed in government contracting is something called responsibility. That's one key ingredient. Responsibility talks about your ability to have the knowledge and the experience to form a contract. The government's risk averse in dealing with companies with very little experience. You have a mission to perform, so they want to make sure you have that capability. You have the financing to perform, or the ability to get that financing. Have the necessary experience. Sometimes you don't have that kind of experience. you can do something that expand that capability. Darren, can you come up here? Darren? Yeah, what kind of business you in? Insurance, okay, Darren. I want you to blow up this balloon. There's a clock back there, we'll set it for 11 o'clock, I guess. All right, so, thank you, Darren. Stay here. So, we'll take, Darren probably till 11 o'clock to build this up, right? Okay, or we can team up. Okay, you have some capabilities that I don't have, and I have some that you don't have. And I might be a veteran-owned business, and you might be a woman-owned business. Let's get together and win that bid, all right? So hold this end of that balloon. And we filled it up being together as a team, one breath. We simplified it. We expanded our capabilities together to perform a contract. Okay, thanks, Darren. So teaming is a way to get to that point where you might lack certain capabilities or certain experiences, or if you want to team up with a certain socioeconomic group to get an advantage in that award. So that's responsibility. Another key ingredient is something called responsiveness. That's making sure you complete the bid in accordance with the requirements of that proposal or solicitation. That's important. Responsiveness. I've been in this field for 30 years, and I see the same mistakes done by businesses year in and year out. I talked to a lawyer who deals with bid protests, and I asked him, give me a list of the top mistakes that businesses do year in and year out. I gave him my list, he gave me his. We matched up. So it's the same mistakes over and over again. What are those mistakes? Number one, you didn't read the solicitation. You didn't get the amendments. Make sure that you have all the amendments. Read the package, even if it's 120 pages, like Tori's solicitation for schedules. Read through them. I mean, it's important. They'll note a lot of provisions incorporated by reference, because the bid is already that thick, so they reference other materials. Make sure you go to those regulations. Again, our office can help you understand those terms and conditions. That's one mistake. You didn't ask a question. A lot of people don't ask questions before they submit a bid. Big mistake. There's sometimes ambiguities in the proposal that you don't understand. Better to ask. And usually in the proposal, there's a date specified when to ask the question. After that date, you can't ask the question. And usually the questions and their answers are noted publicly so you can see what all the questions were. So ask the questions. You might make a mistake. You're excited, you got the award, and then you realize what you got. And you might go into bankruptcy because you didn't read the entire package. This is crazy, but this one comes up every year. You didn't submit your bid on time. Happens all the time. Common sense tells you to get the bidder proposal in on time. A lot of proposals that could have won were submitted late. Didn't follow the instructions in the solicitation. Oftentimes they'll say, submit 3 resumes, no more than 5. If you submit 6, you'll be thrown out. They'll say, no more than 10 pages in your proposals, you submit 11, you're thrown out. If a certain type is required in your proposals, make sure you follow the type. If they want you to submit this information in this section of your proposal, but you submit it in another section, you're thrown out. So follow the instructions in the proposal. Another key mistake, you didn't review your proposal or bid before you submitted it. Have somebody else look at it. Our office can review that too. Have a third person review your bid or your proposal. See the mistakes we catch on that. And lastly, in the issue of responsiveness, ask for post-award debriefing. A lot of people submit proposals, they don't get it, and then they don't follow up. I had a client who submitted 4 years in a row, and then I asked them, did you ever find out where you stood? No. So find out where you stood among the other bidders. If you're weak in certain evaluation points, find out where you were weak. Even if you win, just find out where your strengths and weaknesses were, so you'll be ready for the follow-on. So we talked about responsibility, responsiveness. Third key ingredient is being competitive. If you're not sure how to bid, look, you can call the buyer and ask who the current incumbent contractor is, and ask for their bid, the current contract bid prices or their rates. You're entitled to get that information. Look to GSA's library. There's a lot of rates that are public there in terms of various labor categories. Find out what's competitive. See if your rates are competitive with what's on Tory's schedule. Federal Procurement Data System, next generation, has a lot of information about contract awards too. Again, we can help you go through this and help you develop a competitive price. So we talked about responsibility, responsiveness, competitiveness, and the fourth key ingredient, the most important, perseverance. You'll need that. So even if you complete all your certifications and you have a capability statement and you have to go out there and meet people, you have to have a lot of perseverance in government contracting. So, key ingredients: responsiveness, responsibility, competitiveness, perseverance. Okay. Did I pour green liquid in this or green silk? You get those ingredients together. Where are you? You get a profitable contract award. And that concludes my presentation.
I didn't know if Nick had a rabbit up here, so I was gonna wait a minute. Maybe he's gonna pull out some money. I didn't know, so let's wait a second. So that's the end of the panel, and we're gonna transition to questions. We actually were joined by another really important person to this whole conversation about economic development in the city of Charlotte, and that's our Deputy City Manager, Ron Kimball, just joined us as well. So as I go down the line, we actually heard about how the government actually does business with small business. We heard about contracting opportunities with GSA. We heard about how you can actually get capacity to help grow your company from the SBA. We heard how you actually get certified so that these folks will pay you attention. We actually heard what the city of Charlotte's doing to help you. And then we had the resources in Charlotte, the technical assistance, to actually help you figure all the rest of that out down at the end. So the point is, why are we doing this? A lot of people have asked me, considering that Rethink started out being about maybe technology, why are we talking about small business? And I'll be honest with you, it's really simple for me. You can have all the innovation in the world, and if you don't have people who can take advantage of it and grow it, you're not going to do anything for your economy at all. Why are we doing this? Because the city of Charlotte needs you to grow. We don't grow without you. Why are we doing this? We need you to provide jobs. You just heard that we can do all the corporate recruitment that we can, and we do a lot of it. And I hope that even after I leave, they continue to do that. But the majority of the economy sits in you all's laps. The majority of the jobs that are started start with you all. So that's why we're doing this today. It may not sound innovative, but if we don't go to businesses of the future and figure out where the puck is going, Charlotte would be at a competitive disadvantage. That's why we're doing this today. So as we transition to question and answer, I'm going to try something right now that I kind of pre-warned a couple of panelists about, and hopefully they'll indulge me on this. We're going to play Shark Tank for a second. So I got two business owners that are going to stand up and give you their elevator speech. We're going to start with Kamisha, if you'll stand up. They're going to give you 2 minutes about what they're doing. Regional Administrator Butt, she beat me this a little bit by having the other young lady stand up. But what I'm going to do is have Kamisha explain to you guys what she does, what her company does, and I'm going to ask each one of you very quickly to say what it is your agency or your organization could do to help her grow. All right?
Hi, my name is Kamisha Ferris. I'm owner of a company called Anointed Flooring, Inc. We are a full-service flooring company providing flooring solutions to both commercial and government clients. Our specialty is carpet, tile, and resilient flooring. We do projects such as Charlotte Housing Authority projects, as well as the City of Charlotte, such as fire stations. We've worked at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. We also do the UNCs, UNC Charlotte, UNC Chapel Hill. That's just to name a few. We've also done some government facilities, such as the National Air Guard here in Charlotte.
All right, Shark Tank. Tell her what you can do to help her.
Are you certified?
Yes. Certified such as 8A or which certification?
Whichever one you like to.
We have certification with the state of North Carolina. We're HUB certified. We're MWBE certified. We are also EDWSOB certified with the federal, and we're working on our 8A certification, hopefully by the end of this year.
Okay, so the last one is the one that's most important to me. So you're working on being certified with the SBA, right? Are you working with anyone in the district office here in North Carolina?
Yeah, Joanne Schaefer's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have had a chance to meet with her on a continuous basis?
I have met with Joanne. Our first initial was about a month ago in regards to getting the 8A application completed. I am hoping to have this done by December 31st, 2015.
Okay, and I'll just leave for food for thought for you, for anyone else who's looking to be certified. The 8A program is a 9-year, basically, I call it I won't call it that. It's an opportunity to help you grow. You're a small business that helps you to grow and to do work with prime contractors. It helps you to raise your skill. It helps you to raise your visibility. Basically, you have a guide, a mentor, a tutor, if you will, for 9 years. That's helps you to raise your business to the next level. And so what she's talking about is going through the 8A application process, which is a very detailed process. But I will say that you have to get it right the first time, because if you don't, you have to wait. How long, Lynn, do you have to wait again? 1 year. Right, is it a year? A year, okay, thank you. You have to wait a year before you have to resubmit. So I ask you to make certain that you spend as much time as possible. Like, our staff should be your best friend between now and before the next time you turn your application in, because if you miss something, you have to wait an entire year. So we won't show you how to fill out the application. We'll give you a guide of what to do. But continue to establish that rapport. I just wanted to exclude that myth, Councilman Howard, that when folks say that the 8A program is hard to get into. No, it's not necessarily hard to get into. You have to pay attention to what you're doing the first time, because if you don't, you have to wait an entire year. So I'm glad that you're going through that process. Continue to spend that time with us, and we'll make certain that we have that available for you.
I do have one comment to you, Mr. Butts, our question. I know that they're doing some new things with WLSB, which they're actually allowing them to have a set aside as well. So how does that look for, I'm EDWSOB. So will I still be able to take opportunity of that set aside.
What I like to do is not try to act like I know everything. First and foremost, that's why we have Lynn Douthit here, but I'm also going to direct you to Mia Fagley, who is actually here on the far left. Mia, raise your hand so she can see you. She is our lead business opportunity specialist. Make sure you spend time with her. She has her contact card out here to make sure she can give everything that you need in place.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you.
So that's kind of the first step in the table, right? Because I'm sure that there's, a response from all of us. So once you get that 8A certification, because it sounds like you have a well-established portfolio or capability statement that you could provide to GSA if you're looking to do business with GSA to do flooring and whatever else your company provides. But something that I didn't mention that's, I think, somewhat of a well-kept secret with regard to the 8A businesses that are out there is that GSA has what we call a disposal program, a personal property disposal program. Anybody ever heard of personal property disposal through GSA? Okay, so when the federal government is done utilizing its IT technology, vehicles, furniture, and so forth, when it is at the end of its life, it's not necessarily not useful, it just means that we refresh every so often. For example, we refresh our computers right now every 3 years. To save some money, we'll probably go to 4 years at some point in the near future. But when those computers are, at the end of that 3-year life cycle, we will look to other agencies to see if they can utilize them first. But then, if they can't be utilized by other agencies, we put them out there in a number of ways. One is through Computers for Learning for schools. The other way is through 8A businesses. Once you're 8A certified, you qualify for this donation program. Now, it's not completely free, but it is a great advantage to businesses that may have offices that need office equipment, that may need, IT equipment, and so forth. So when you enter that space of 8A, it does bring a whole lot of advantages outside of the set-aside space in contracting.
Good point. Mr. Watson?
I wouldn't say just certification. You can get certified and you've got certifications. I would say we would offer the opportunity for development and increasing capacity to have exposure to larger corporate bids and corporate opportunities.
Jerry Ann?
Councilmember Howard, I would like to congratulate Kamisha because I've known her for a very long time, and what I would offer her is what she's already doing. She's active in the Charlotte community. She's active in a lot of organizations. She's partnered with CPCC. She's taken classes, and she was the inaugural winner of our Crowns of Enterprise Awards from the city and county. So I actually want to give her a hand clap because she has been doing a rock star job in the community.
I heard the word relationships all the way down, just to keep going.
And I continue with that. I know Kamisha, you have an outstanding capability statement, Kamisha. She networks everywhere. I see her everywhere. And she's networking, building those relationships, and taking whatever training's available that's free. So continue doing that, Kamisha.
All right, so we're going to stop. Was that good, Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
So it was worth the breakfast, right? So let me take a couple of questions before we start trying to wrap up. Any questions from the audience? And if you'll be very specific to you asking it to on the panel, and panel, if you'll be brief, that'd be great, so we can still get you out of here on time. So any questions from the audience? All right, over here.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I'm at a deficit here because I keep hearing certification. Could you explain what a certification is and what you're being certified in? Because I don't know if everyone knows what a certification is.
So why don't we throw that to you, Eric?
Yep.
And then if anybody else wants to chime in, we can.
Mine's pretty quick. There's 3 levels. For our organization, you have to be certified that the business is 51% owned and 51% operated by a minority, and third, financially sound. So those are the 3 things we test as far as certification. It's more of an in-depth application process, but those are the 3 things that we present to our corporate members and private service members to certify MBEs.
Okay. I'll add to that.
Please.
Okay. 51% minority-owned, 51% minority-operated, and financially stable.
The City of Charlotte has Charlotte Business Inclusion Program, and they offer a certification. It's a free certification, and all of that information, along with Eric's information, can be found on charlottebusinessresources.com, the website I was talking about earlier. If you go to the contracting page and the drop-down for certifications, all of that information will be there, and it will link off to the city's page as well as Eric's page.
Another question? All right, we got a question for Brother Nichols over here.
Yeah, speaking of Tori about the GSA, I know you talk about technology, how you guys have streamlined a lot of your processes. Have you guys done anything as far as the GSA scheduling? Has that been streamlined? Is there a different process to access that, number one? Number two, my company on the technology side, we've partnered with a lot of 8A companies. So we were not 8A certified, but we were able to partner probably on 5 different contracts with 8A providers, and then we got direct contracts directly because of our service with 8As as well. So, but really on the GSA schedule, is that process been streamlined, or how's that work?
The process streamlined from what it used to be, probably. We could say yes, but I think we're starting to think differently about the schedule. That's why you saw what I was talking about with regard to category management. That's how we're starting to think differently about the schedule. Eric mentioned earlier that, you know, in the private sector and as well as in the government now, you have strategic sourcing that we're moving towards. That means you have fewer contractors in these various categories. And so that tier 2, tier 3, what we call subcontracting, is important to small businesses and making sure that that compliance is there. We're looking at how we can improve or simplify the schedule. I can't talk about necessarily where we are right now. It's just too soon to talk about it, but we are. But you mentioned that you partnered with an 8A firm, and I think Eric and Nick may have mentioned this in their presentations as well. Something that I often encourage businesses to do is to think about who's in the room with you. You saw all of the minority categories that we had up there. Those are goals that we have to hit as an agency. Not every agency hits those goals, but we're really committed. Chastity's here, Millie's here. That's our team here in Region 4, but we have a team like them all over the country to make sure that we hit those goals. So that's why these types of events are important. But what's equally important, not just to us, but should be to you, is that there's a veteran. I saw some hands that went up that said, you're veterans in this room. There are women in this room. There are all kinds of businesses that are represented in this room that if you put yourselves together and improve your capacity to do business with the federal government, state government, local government, which has a tremendous amount of spend too, you're just better positioned because we have to make those goals. At the end of the year, if we're not reaching that goal, guess where we're looking? You said you're Hub Zone. Hub certified. Okay, okay. I mean, we're always looking for Hub Zone businesses. Is that right, Chastity? Mm-hmm. Always. Because that is one of the hardest numbers for us to hit as an agency, is Hub Zone. So you go out there and find a Hub Zone partner, you know, you just decrease the pool of competition that's out there. So we're trying to improve the schedule, and we know that sometimes it can be complicated. There are some opinions out there that there are too many schedules, right? So we're looking at how we can simplify that, and we're moving in that direction, being very intentional and methodical about it. You know, when you hear about opportunities to comment on various schedules or various contract opportunities, please comment. That helps us to get it right. Please comment.
All right, so we're going to transition to our last Shark Tank, and I'm going to actually ask, say the name, Tamika? Tamika's going to join us for this last one. So Stephanie's going to stand up and tell us about her company, and I'm going to ask you to come over here, because she is actually with Sugar Creek Construction is doing 77, so I want you to hear from all of them how they can help you grow your business.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Stephanie Burwald. I'm with a company called Lil Associates, and we are, for lack of a better word, supplier diversity consultants in construction. So we focus primarily on construction. We've been in business for 32 years. We've done county, city, state work. We've helped to build the landscape of Charlotte. We actually built the courthouse, the Bank of America Stadium. We also worked on the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And what we do is we partner small and minority companies with larger companies to be able to create those relationships, to create the balloon effect that Darren and Nick did earlier. So we really focus on partnerships. We also provide compliance support for contractors. So we make sure that they're meeting the goals and making sure the paperwork is correct on bid day so that people can be in compliance. And then we also exceed our goals on every project that we work on. So we definitely, we love what we do because we do create those partnerships. We kind of feel like we're missionaries, but I do know Tamika. And I just wanted to thank you guys for all the information that you provided today because it was a wealth of knowledge. We've been in business a long time. We want to see our business grow another 30 years as we see the transition from one leadership to another. So just wanted to, get some feedback from you, and I appreciate David and what you've done. We hate to see you go, but we appreciate everything you've done to this date. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing what you all have to offer.
So how can we help Lil and Associates grow?
Start with Nick. So I'll start. You may not know this, I didn't mention it earlier, but Fed Biz Ops is a great place to start. And you probably are very familiar with Fed Biz Ops, but for everybody else who's in the room, that's where we start. We have to, as a federal government, post those contracting opportunities there. Take it a step further, we also post our forecast for the year. Right now we don't have a federal budget. Hopefully that will happen before December 11th, so that there's not a shutdown. But we know what we need to do, okay, for the upcoming year. And we post those forecasts on our website, and they're broken down into regions of the country. Right now, there's a posting for roofing work to be done in Statesville, North Carolina. I think it's like a $350,000 project, So make sure that you're looking at our forecast site. On that forecast site, it's the spreadsheet with all of these opportunities, and at the very last column, you'll see that there's a contact person there. That is the contracting officer. Call the contracting officer, email the contracting officer, ask questions, as Eric said, about that contracting opportunity before it gets to that point where no questions can be asked.
Go down the line. Who else can help?
Well, I know you're already certified with the council, so that's the first good step. The thing that I would say, when I talked about being bold, how many regions are you doing work in other than Charlotte?
Well, we work from Charlotte to Raleigh, and then down into South Carolina a little bit, maybe Columbia.
I would look at national and global presence, especially when you think about the Eastern Seaboard and the opportunities there, and in the private sector in the eastern region of Virginia.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would like to add and reiterate what I said earlier about charlottebusinessresources.com, we're always looking for good businesses for our video series and for our blog. And Christy and I, we always have a challenge of getting businesses to respond to free marketing and free networking that we're trying to offer you. So if you all really would like to participate and would really like to be featured on the blog, please see us afterwards, and I would offer that to Lil Associates as well. I know if you've been around for a while, but we would like to feature you all on the website.
How can Sugar Creek Construction help?
One of the things that Sugar Creek Construction can help with is capacity building, relationship building, which some of the panel spoke about. Our company, although we have opposition to widen I-77, the managed lanes, we have a special niche. Even though it is heavy highway construction, our procurement, as well as myself, I'm the disadvantaged business coordinator, we package our contracts for companies and their capacity. We want you to work with us, but we're never going to give you more than you're capable of. So that's an advantage for us. So we would actually tailor a contract
for you. That also gives you the advantage to come in, do the work, and if you exceed expectations, well, we continue to work with you. You may get another contract or what we consider a change order. And that just increases not only your contract amount, but your exposure. So you're continually to work with us. We're building that relationship. And at the same time, 9 times out of 10, our other subcontractors may look to you for other projects that they're on as well.
And tell them how big the construction project is.
Our goal for disadvantaged business is roughly about $59 million. And in the past, I've been with the company for 3 years. We have 3 separate projects in Texas, and we have not only exceeded the DBE goal, but we have also finished every project ahead of schedule. That also helps you because at the same time, you could easily continue to work with us on other projects, which is part of building capacity and building relationships.
And since you hadn't been up, tell them what kind of contracts you're looking for other than construction.
Well, we look mainly for construction, but we also do a little bit of what Stephanie does, outreach events. There is potential for facilities, supervision, maintenance, as well as, I would probably say, a little bit of professional services, design, engineering, and even some accounting work.
So, Regional Administrator Butts, is there anything you could do to help them?
Sure. Also, excuse me, as you're continuing to grow, to be mindful of the folks who you're continuing to employ, where they can rely on some of the resources that we have, our small business development centers that partner with us at SBA, as well as our SCORE chapters, which is celebrating their 50th anniversary in existence, as well as our women business centers. We think that when your subcontractors have an opportunity to have access to capital contracting and counseling opportunities, they can help you to continue to grow as an organization. While I had actually just one last thing to say, I wanted to make certain that we really did thank Councilman Howard for what you have done today. We really appreciate bringing this group together. Thank you so much. We really do. Thank you. Thank you.
Nick, anything last?
If you're matching up primes to subs to primes, there are a lot of databases out there that's 24/7 you can use. Systems award management. We can show you how to use that database to find certain companies by socioeconomic, by NAICS codes. Dynamic Small Business Search is another great database you can use. We get calls all the time from prime contractors who have subcontracting requirements for the federal government. Hey, Nick, can you find us sub these NAICS codes that's a veteran-owned or a woman-owned or 8A? And you can reverse that. You can find primes the other way. So use the databases out there, and we can show you how to do that.
Great, thank you, guys.
And we're going to give this young lady that's been raising her hand the whole time the last question of the day, and then I'll wrap up with some remarks. I loved your energy the whole time, so thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sharon Alexander, and I am CEO of Renner Grantsman. That's my own company in which I write grants and provide research assistance and also review grants. But today I'm here not for that particular business, and I am for my other business, and I am a coach for the Entrepreneur Source. And with that organization, I consider myself an empowerment guru, where I assist my clients, one, to determine whether or not business ownership is right for them, and then if it is right for them based on some things that we do or consider, then I have a portfolio of franchise opportunities that I match them with. And so I run into a number of clients or individuals who are veterans or who have a dream and they want to start their own business, but they don't have the capital to start their own business. And so I refer them a lot to SBA resources and so forth, and a number of the other alternative resources, the support center and that sort of thing. I'm looking at an article, Fortune magazine, where I'm looking at where it says mass layoffs for 2015. United States Army is at the top of the list with 40,000 for this year. Hewlett-Packard, or HP, is 30,000, and then you have the United States Army civilian force, 17,000. So there are a lot of numbers here, and my organization works a lot with people who are transitioning like that. One of the things that I've noticed that there isn't enough capital, alternative resources that are available for many people who just have little things that have happened and that make it difficult for them. So one of the things that I was thinking that I'd like to be a part of, and that is in setting up an endowment fund, or a fund that, you know, with certain stipulations and designed a certain kind of way, that people who wouldn't be in the mainstream would be able to qualify for, and I just have a list of number of people. Is there anything that you could offer to assist me with that particular vision or dream, you know, with all of the wonderful, wonderful things that I've heard today in setting up that endowment fund for those people?
Well, I'll just go first and just be very brief. I know we're short on time. We'd like for you to actually come to our office and actually meet with me before you leave to talk about not just us, but our resource partners, because we work with several different organizations. We work with local, state, and other federal entities like GSA. And so what we try to do is try to put together a collaborative approach for you to figure out which one is going to be important for you. And that really takes the time for you to sit down and just talking to us so we can figure out your best plan of action. So we'll look forward to making certain that happens after this event is over with.
Anybody else before I wrap up? So let's give the panel a hand. I heard a bunch of acronyms about certifications that I know nothing about that hopefully you guys will learn about before you leave, either from the panel or across the hall. And I heard the word relationship over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So before you leave, don't just go talk to the panel, talk to each other. Because if you heard something, if you heard a business or an idea that's stuck out, you should exchange information with each other as well. Before I do my few closing remarks, I'll remind you that if you got a few more things to say on social media, I'd love to have it. The hashtag for Twitter and Instagram is on your table, RethinkCLT. So if you'll remember to do that, give me some feedback. If it's negative, tell me in person. Don't put it on social media. And remember to get your parking tickets validated by Alvin. You see his name, his hand up. As well as the surveys on the back. The only way that I can know whether or not these are effective and we should keep doing them is to hear from you. Closing remarks. I told you from the beginning I was going to talk about the tale of three cities as opposed to just the way you normally hear two. The second city I want to tell you about is Barcelona, and I put that up on the screen. Last November, I actually had an opportunity to take 10 people, and a few of them were in the room. There's Jennifer and Lisa, and we had Ron Kimball in here, and we went over, and what we saw is a city that is really serious about doing a couple of things. They're serious about being innovative, they're serious about being global, and they're serious about their entrepreneurial ecosystem. So the city of Barcelona, the city, not the companies and the chamber, the city of Barcelona had 6 municipal issues they were dealing with. One of them was bicycles being stolen. They turned that into a worldwide contest that the Chamber of Commerce actually oversaw. And as opposed to doing, Ron, Carly, what we would normally do in America, which is go to our department heads and say, do something about that, or we go to the police, they turned it into a worldwide competition for entrepreneurs to give ideas, either about safety, different ideas you had about how to stop people from getting hit at intersections. And they took that, and the Chamber of Commerce, not the city, actually chose the winners, and the city of Barcelona gave them tax abatements and free office space for the first couple of years to come do that there. Serious about entrepreneurship, serious about being innovative, serious about being global. That's what Charlotte's got to do. And the two words that come to mind for me when I think about that are the words intentional and innovative. So what you heard today is maybe you're not in a line of business where the puck is going. Maybe this is an opportunity to actually realign what you're doing with where the puck is going to be. Maybe it's around technology, maybe it's around infrastructure, maybe it's around something completely different that we don't even know about yet. But what I know is that if we're going to be competitive and be mentioned with cities like Barcelona, we got to do more to be forward-thinking and to be progressive. So that's number one. This whole entrepreneurial thing, man, my hat is off to everybody in this room that's an entrepreneur. I got a wife that's a consummate entrepreneur and a sister that's a consummate entrepreneur, and I can tell you that it is a different mindset. At first, I kind of didn't understand it because real entrepreneurs, I found out, go from idea to idea, and they know how to scale it and get it going. Okay, for the rest of us that don't, the rest of us married to y'all, that drives us crazy. But I can tell you that in that mindset is also innovation, because you guys can take an idea and turn it into something overnight. We need you all. It's a different mindset, and I can tell you that that's what's going to make the tale of this third city I want to talk about, Charlotte, competitive moving forward. I had an opportunity to go to Beijing a couple years ago, and I heard that in the country of China, they will have 202 cities by 2021 with 1 million people or more in it. Yep. I mean, you know, we got a short list of cities that got 1 million people or more in it, let alone 200 of them. Our children are going to be competing with people in cities that are going to be pushing innovation that we don't even know the names of yet. If we don't do something to make sure that Charlotte stays on that list, we'll very quickly be taken over by other people in other places that are more aggressive and serious about doing this. One of the things I'm proud of is that while I was on council, I actually pushed Charlotte, if you look at the screen, to join something called City Protocol. It's actually a group of cities that are coming together to talk about how cities of the future can come together. And I asked Alvin to pull this email up just to show you the very bottom of it, because I wanted you to see that when it comes to the cities that are part of this organization, Charlotte is the only American city that's a part of it. And isn't that the kind of list that we want to be listed with? Well, I want to make sure that beyond just figuring out how to do business here in Charlotte, beyond just figuring out how to scale and do business with the government, I want you to be ready to do business around the world. Now, not every business scales nationally or globally. Not every city, like Eric talked about, fits into the export-import area. But if it does, Charlotte needs you to stretch and think about how to spread your wares and your products around the world. Kamisha and Stephanie, I need you guys, like Eric said, to be thinking about how you put flooring down in China and have a Charlotte address. Did you hear me? That's what Charlotte needs you to do. We need you to be thinking globally. We need Lil Associates to be thinking about construction, like Eric said, across this country, and eventually figuring out how to partner to take it to other countries. I mean, you know, and when you go to South America, I'll work for you and I'll go with you. But as we wrap up, just know that all of this is about progressing Charlotte forward. It's about moving Charlotte forward. You guys are the backbone for that. Small business is the backbone. Today, hopefully you heard why it's important and why we need you to be productive citizens and corporate partners in this conversation. So with that, unless I've missed any other housekeeping thing, Lisa, Caleb, or Alvin, we're done. Thank you for coming out, and look forward to hearing more about Rethink CLT. And don't forget to go across the hall. We have all these folks set up here. Several of them have tables set up. Go get their information so you can figure out how to do business with them.